Heliborne's coming out Monday, I believe, and
Yes.
I'm talking to Anthony here. Would you like to introduce yourself, Anthony, and describe your role in the company?
Hi. Yeah. My name is Anthony Keeton, call sign Rayne, and I am the English-speaking EU and North American, South American Community and Media Relations Manager, and I wear a bunch of other hats too, such as quality assurance and testing and balance and all that kind of good stuff within the team. So that's kind of what I do. We're a very small team, but we all fill a whole bunch of roles.
Right. I was going to ask about team size. I've got a few questions for you. The game's out Monday.
Yes.
You've just released all the alpha codes for the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, so people can get ahead, have a look, see what they think of it, and then the real thing's coming out on Monday.
Yes, we wanted to go ahead and make sure that everybody that supplied to Alpha could just get in and have the weekend to play the game and try it out, see if they want to spend that $10 on Monday morning or next week. And obviously that probably answered another question you have.
Certainly did, yeah.
We're planning on, I think it's either $9.99 or $10 US. It should be €10. I'm not quite sure, the current exchange rates and everything else, but we're charging around $10 US, €10 for early access on Monday.
Seems like a pretty reasonable price. I haven't had a chance to play the game, and yeah, there's what can I say? There's it's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I was impressed. You said the team's fairly small.
Yes.
One of the questions was, roughly how many guys and how long have you been working on it?
About 6 people right now, 5 or 6 roundabout. Belarusian, Russian, Ukrainian. I'm the only American. You've got Roman Vlasov, who is our business developer, lead designer. Ilya Lahuno, who is our non-English and Russian side community guy. As I introduced myself earlier, I do a bunch of the other stuff within the team. You've got Ilya Toldeev, who is our lead and only programmer. He's pretty much done 99% of the game.
Wow.
And then Diana, I hate that I cannot remember her last name. She's Russian, and all of the 31 helicopters that you see in the game and all of the textures you see in the game have been done by her and her alone.
That's a mammoth task.
Yes, she's an extraordinary artist, and she's very well talented. Does not speak any English whatsoever, but she's amazing. And I think we had one of the contractor that was doing some stuff for us. Oh wait, Diana Lear. There you go. Sorry, okay. Diana Lear. And that's about it for the studio. Really, the game's kind of sort of been in development for about 2 years now, but it was just maybe 2 or 3 people that were actually doing physical and substantial work on the project, and now we're hoping to put it out in front of everybody and hopefully maybe even grow the team and get some more people on so that we can push the project up and really get some more content going and get the game moving forward.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me was one of the things I wrote down to ask you about was competition, and I kind of thought about it, and I'm sort of surprised. There's not a great deal. There's helicopter games for some reason or another. They're not up there with tanks and aircraft and ships.
No, they're not.
And it's a surprise. Why is that, do you think?
Because helicopters are exorbitantly difficult to do, and to do correctly, to do right, to feel right. Because when you think about a tank, it's just a giant 60-ton machine on treads. It's relatively easy to get the physics for that correctly, right? Okay. Ships are the same, giant ship. I was in the U.S. Navy myself. Ships are only going to act a certain way on the water. Fixed-wing aircraft, fixed-wing aviation is thrust and lift. But with a helicopter, a lot of our players have started asking us for more realistic flight dynamics, and to that I start talking about vortex ring state, rotor speed, rotor RPM overspeed, mass bumping, auto rotation, losing your tail rotor control. It's like you think, right, airplane, you set the airplane up before you take off the runway, and it's usually good to go then, and up you go. You've got thrust, you've got lift on the wings, you're good to go, right? helicopters kind of beat the air into submission. They really shouldn't fly.
Right.
So there's a lot more involved in developing helicopter flight dynamics than I think there is in anything else in getting it to feel correctly. To give you an example, each of the 31 helicopters in the game have about 80 different physical attributes in regards to engine speed and RPM speed and ascent descent and nose up and nose down degrees per second and rotation and all kinds of stuff that we're modeling, and that's in a more arcade sort of environment right now. We haven't even got into the, like War Thunder does, the difference between arcade, realistic, and simulator. We haven't even gotten into the more realistic simulator side of helicopter flight yet.
I was going to ask about that because I found it, and I wasn't disappointed. I found it very easy to pick up the controls for the helicopters, and in a way, it allowed me to get on with playing the game. But
that's what we're hoping for,
right? So, but you are planning on different modes.
We are planning on a more realistic flight mode because everybody keeps asking us for it. So. Okay, fine. If people want it, then we're gonna do it. They just have to realize that with a small team and limited time and resources, that's kind of gonna take a back seat to making sure that the game as it stands right now is playable and enjoyable and fun. And as we add new features and new sort of systems and mechanics to the game, as well as new maps and game modes and helicopters, that's our primary goal.
Sure.
So
you gotta, get people in, get people playing it, and then
yes.
I'm sure that shortly afterwards they'll let you know what they want, and you can assess which way to go forward with it.
Yes, and again, it's for those that are thinking that they would really like to get into helicopters. The only other helicopter game on the planet that I would personally suggest are pure-born simulators. You know, so have fun with those, and if you think you can handle a simulator, then let us know, and we'll try to do something a little more realistic. But the first time you get into Vortex Ring State, don't come crying to me.
Okay, so that's good. So you're willing to take feedback from the community.
Yes.
And and possibly head off in their direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're always going to take feedback from the community. Whatever you guys want to see, let us know. You want to see more helicopters, more game modes, more features, just let us know. And if we can do it, we'll do it. And if we've already got it planned, we'll let you know it's coming. And if we've never thought of it before, then obviously we'll take a look. And if it's something that could affect a large majority of the player base, then we'll take a look at it.
Excellent. And how would you... I was coming up with a description of the gameplay currently, and it struck me this is a cross between an FPS and drafts. Would you say that was... or checkers in America. Would you say that was a fair assessment? That you've got to take as much of the board as possible, but also get into some proper fighting too?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think the Operation Wingyu map. I'm probably butchering that. I don't really speak Korean that well, or at all.
No,
but
I'm not going to catch you out.
Okay, good. The Operation Wingyu map added an entirely new style of gameplay for us, where as you land your helicopter at a forward base, at a forward operating base, a FOB, your troops get out and they man the anti-aircraft positions. And what that does then is it spawns a group of ground vehicles, tanks and troop transports that convoy to that base, and then they take up a defensive perimeter around it to secure it. And then the next base and the line, you can land more troops at and continue to sort of push toward the other side of the map. That is this sort of really interesting tug-of-war strategic gameplay that we're going for. The other two maps are literally just capture whatever point whenever, but we've added other things, like on the Gulf of Tonkin map. There's two places on each side of the map where you can land a helicopter and your troops will get out and get into patrol boats.
I saw that. I was impressed by that. I thought that could be very interesting.
We've got a lot of other stuff planned for that too. On the maps where there's a lot of ground forces interaction, we want you to a lot of people have asked us why we're not going to let you drive the tanks and why we're not going to, and put other vehicles in the game. And I point to what we started talking about earlier. We're kind of, everybody else is doing that.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that. We want to really let you see what it was like to be a helicopter pilot and to support ground troops, because let's be honest, like, we wouldn't do a lot of things that we do in modern society without helicopters. They're responsible for so much, medevac and putting out forest fires and like the Ericsson Sky Crane lifting things. And we really want to give out the feeling of what it's like to be a helicopter pilot in a combat environment, supporting ground troops and ground forces.
I think that's fair enough, because it's a helicopter game, first and foremost, and if you start diverting off into other vehicles, you're going to have to expand your team for starters, and you started this because you wanted a helicopter game. So
yes,
that's
and apparently everybody else did too. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In terms of popularity, I'm sure I'm not going to ask you to part with any figures, but what kind of response have you had? I'm guessing it's pretty positive from the videos I've seen. At any rate, the people.
It's been very positive. Yeah, it's been very positive. Probably not as positive as we would like, but we're a tiny team with a tiny game, and we haven't really been picked up by any big, huge media outlets yet. So hopefully, when that happens, then we'll get a lot more interest in the game. But everybody that we've talked to that's playing the game loves what they've played, even if they're giving us feedback that the controls are bad or there's bugs or there's issues. So we've had very positive feedback.
Right.
Very
well, it's early access, isn't it?
Yes.
That's to be kept in mind. Plus, you've got Steam happening on Monday. That's pretty impressive. How do you get a game on Steam? I'm sure
we went through the green light process.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Henry. I keep talking over you. I apologize.
It's fine.
But we went through the green light process, and the reaction there was definitely positive. We were greenlit in 7 days.
Wow.
Which is not.
Yeah.
It's not the norm. It's not the norm at all. That was a lot of work, a lot of 12-hour days.
I'll bet.
But we were greenlit in about 7 days, and Valve does what they do, and they contacted us. And they're like, so, you want to go on Steam? And we're like, yeah.
Okay.
There's more to it than that, but, you can imagine the conversation between us and Valve is, hey, community says they want you. You want to go on Steam? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And then
that must have been quite a day.
It was a very, very good day, and so we did what we did, and we discussed things with Valve, and we got Steamworks API integration and all the other stuff that you get when you go on Steam, and took us about a week or two to really get everything set up and ready for launch, and then it's really just been that easy. If you have a big publisher, then obviously you don't need to go through that process, but we don't have a publisher, we're self-published.
Yeah.
So we did that, and they said yes, and the community said yes, and Valve said yes, and we got on, and here we are Monday morning. We're going to launch on early access to everybody. So it's been great.
Yeah, exciting progress. One of the things, as I said, I saw some videos from someone I know called Mags. He's a very matter-of-fact bloke, and I was watching his videos, and I was thinking, it looks okay, but what really swayed me, and this isn't supposed to sound like an advert, is if you download it, I must say, what made the difference for me was having a go, giving it a go.
Why is that? You're interviewing me, but I'm going to throw a question at you.
No, it's a fair enough question. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure. I think it's the difference between watching and doing. And watching the other videos, you got time to look around and look at the graphics and look at the maps and effects and so on. Whereas when you're actually playing it, you haven't quite got that leisure. So it's quite an involved, it's an involving experience. I enjoyed it straight away, I must say. I got the hang of it very quickly, and in my book, that's a huge plus. I've got the attention span of a gnat, and it's important that I can make a game. I can operate a vehicle in the way that it's supposed to be operated fairly quickly, and I was expecting lots of trouble from helicopters, because they are, as you've pointed out, there are so many factors involved in flying a helicopter that you just don't encounter with most vehicles that are popular in games now. So I was I was impressed at the way that you'd rigged it. So
Thank you.
A novice can get some satisfaction straight away, rather than crashing half a dozen times before you even manage to get 5 yards from the landing pad. So that's what got me interested, was that I was able to explore rapidly.
And I think we've been getting a lot of feedback from people that they like a lot of what we're doing. And when you get in the game and you realize it's WASD with mouse and shift and space to go up and down, and you don't need a joystick and you don't need track IR yet, and you hear the rotor blades, and you see that helicopter in the dust, and you pick it up off the deck, and then you're flying it around the map, and you land, and you see the troops physically get out of the helicopter. We've made that very important, that the troops are in the helicopter, they get out of the helicopter, they walk across the map, and they get into something else, and they're physically there. And on like the Vietnam maps, you just want to play Fortunate Son as you're thumping across the map to get your boys to the next base, and then lifting off and going back to base to pick up another load. It's when you're actually playing it, we really hope that we get that feeling of, oh my god, I'm a helicopter pilot, and there's a battle going on, and you're flying that helicopter close to the deck, ducking and diving and dodging between trees and everything else that we're trying to do, that a lot of people have said, once they really get into the game and they see that all of this stuff is working the way it is, that it doesn't feel like, Desert Strike, for example, an old helicopter game. It doesn't quite feel like that. It feels like a little bit more, and that's what we're hoping for.
Well, the next question is going to be cockpit models and VR integration.
VR is not on the roadmap anytime soon.
Okay.
Cockpit models, yes, we really want to do that, but it's a matter of time and resources. Right now, what we have sort of kind of barely passes, but not really. And we know that. We understand the current cockpit model, if you want to call it that, is bad, but I wasn't reflecting on the current state. I was merely inquiring into, were you going to go in that direction, or does the gameplay dictate that sitting behind the copter is actually a better position? We'll see. I've got some ideas myself that I've discussed with the team, and some feedback from people, and maybe we'll try a game mode where once we have cockpits, like, you can only fly the helicopter from cockpit mode.
Right.
Like limiting the camera angle, and see if people like that. But maybe at that point is when track IR or VR would be much more prominent and much more of a desire, is if you're in the cockpit, in the seat, flying the helicopter.
That's kind of what I was getting at. But the downside of that is you wouldn't be able to see the troops departing the helicopter, getting in the vehicles and driving away. So it sounds like there's some very interesting challenges ahead.
A lot of priorities on what we should and shouldn't be doing now versus later, and or at all. And a lot of sort of drawback versus bonus as to, okay, well, if we give you cockpits, cockpits require a lot of work, a lot of modeling, especially if we want all the dials and instruments to work, which takes its own level of challenges. And then what are you losing as the player sitting in the cockpit versus seeing the helicopter, and all of that situational awareness versus what you can see in your field of view, and all this other stuff. So it's a lot to think about. But again, if people want it, tell us that you want it, and we'll work towards it.
Right. That's you're at a very exciting stage of lots of work done, but the future's still ahead of you, very much so, I would say.
We hope so.
Yeah. You've got 2 maps at the moment. You've got more planned? Are those 3 maps at the moment. More coming down the pipe?
Yes. I can't say how many. We are working on another one right now. The Gulf of Tonkin and Afghanistan maps were kind of like our demo maps. They're kind of small, quick, not a lot of real strategy, barring the typical capture the flag. I drop my troops off here and capture the base, and you do the same, and we fight. And then we took that to the next level with the Operation Win Hue map, which is about 3 to 4 times the size, and that has the ground forces convoys and dropping off troops to capture a base, but needing to protect the ground forces units until they get there, and other things. And so we're hoping, as we add more maps, that we can try out more different types of game modes. The next one coming is adversarial.
Okay.
Frontline is what we're calling it, Frontlines officially, and basically one team is attacking the map and one team is defending, which is your standard attack defense sort of gameplay, but we're hoping to do something a little bit different with that. We've got a lot of new features and mechanics coming that hopefully are going to change that sort of gameplay up.
Sounds very interesting. I look forward to seeing more of it. And as you say, this is out on Monday at various times across the world, of course, for around $10, €10, £10.
Hopefully not £10, because I know that kind of doesn't equate, but we don't have any control over that.
No, I think I've seen, I realise that that bit's not up to you, and sometimes it just is like that. But however, I must say, from what I've seen of it so far, I certainly don't think £10 is too much to ask. It's a pretty reasonable price for a game, which, as far as I can see, has a terrific future. And I wish you all the best with it. Thank you very much indeed for having a chat today.
Thank you so very much for having me, Henry. I appreciate it.
If as things develop, if you care to do it again, I'd be more than happy to do it again too.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.